Hello, I think I'm 2 minutes fast. So I just noticed the time on my phone, but it doesn't matter because people tend not to get the notifications for about 10 minutes into these anyway. Um, so, you'll probably be watching it after the event, maybe, or you'll come in halfway through or something. So we're going to have great fun today because we're going to be drawing water or painting water. And I'm in the little kitchen studio now, which the lighting is always really nice in to do that. And oil paints, I have the oil paints out today. And this is just up here because to remind us that we're doing fun stuff with very colourful things today. We get to be very colourful, and because I have had really rotten weather here and lost several tulips, and wanted to show them to you because I thought, well, they're so gorgeous. I want to show them off before they die. I have that one in a little bit of water to try and make it last longer. I don't know if that bulb will produce another tulip next year. You're not supposed to pick them like that from the bulbs, you see. So, but at least it got to flower and do its thing. So, um, I provided reference material this week as well, right? So, here's kind of what we're going to be doing. These are my working drawings that I'm going to be working from, but the reference material is in the description underneath. You will find um, a link to a video, and the video is called Secret Lake, and it's a video I made a couple of years ago now, and it's got this amazing lake in it that I had been searching for and eventually found on the most beautiful day, a bit like today, because today after the storms and everything, it's one of those beautiful blue days. Blue is going to come in. It's a lot today. So the lake is a very Monet lake. There's all these reflections and everything, and Monet did that so well. But there's even lily pads, and Monet has uh, drawing water and lakes totally ruined for everybody, but in a wonderful way because he did the most amazing paintings of uh, rivers and water lilies and just the beautiful transparency of water and the colors, lovely singing colors and everything. And I was very lucky to sit with one of his huge paintings of water lilies for about an hour in a gallery in London once. And it was, I think of it as one of my best art experiences that I've had. I've had a lot of art experience. So if you don't know those paintings, go off online and just look up um, Monet's water lilies. And it's nothing like the effect of being on front of them, which is just so amazing. But maybe if you get a video or something on YouTube, um, that'll do close ups and you'll get the feeling of being there with them. It's just magic what he did. But I can't live up to that. And I'm not going to try and do it like Monet, but he kind of has it ruined in another way because it's the same subject matter he was doing. And of course, you think Monet when you see it. But we're doing it because it gives us an excuse to talk about uh, color and another thing, transparency, right? So we were doing a lot of talk about color, and you could probably just see in the corner here of the screen. I think you can see it, or the color wheel. Yeah, and I was doing a lot of color adventures, right? And I thought, um, I don't want to go on about mixing color every single week and make you really hate it. Because it's about making nice, fun paintings as well. It's not just about mixing all the time. But I do want to talk about uh, transparent and opaque pigment and the nature of the pigment itself and how it affects color and how that in turn affects what you can convey in a painting. Okay, so I have the camera here at such an angle that hopefully I'm going to be able to capture some of the colors that I am using and talk about the qualities of. But we're going to paint as well because we've only got an hour to do this. So, and hopefully my big head doesn't get in the way too much. So apologies if it does. Now, I want to explain to you that I have been using this thing called a limited palette a little bit. So you will see me referring to some of the colors on it and mixes that I'm getting basically from three colors, and then anything else I'm adding into that, I'm calling it an augmented palette. For example, today we might find ourselves mixing in cobalt violet in with things, and really it should be a dioxine purple. That's what everybody's recommending, but it's kind of an experiment that I'm doing, that some colors with these yellow, blue, red mixes, some colors are not satisfactory, and we talked about how the purple range was not satisfactory before. Now, in this painting that we're doing of water, it's not this one I'm doing today, okay? That is just a basic kind of water structure thing. You could have a go at doing that, and there is a short video on that. But the technique that I'm using it for uh, the lake video. So this is the working drawing for it, but the colors and the transparencies and everything we're using, it's going to be the same kind of idea. This just has a few things going on in it that are slightly more level of difficulty, let's say, than this. Okay, but the technique is the same. So we're going to be working in the same way. And there are a couple of things to understand about water, right? Now, I have another painting going, right? And this is a painting that I'm just working on this week, and it's based on the upload. The last upload that I did was a field trip that I did where I was working in gouache, and I had my gouaches out working on this spring scene. And I later thought, oh, I might like to do a painting of that. So I found a nice canvas and I'm working on that. Now there's some water in it, but you'll notice that a lot of the paint that's gone on to this is uh, opaque. And I don't mean just thick, right? It's opaque in that it's all my mixes have some white in them, okay? And there's not a lot of pure color. Some of these greens and everything, they're sort of pure color mixes. But um, you'll notice the difference between this and the way that I would handle water. Because the way I handle water is to do a mix of the two. And some people are amazing at getting the illusion of water, and it's more the feeling of water than the illusion that I want to get. But to get there, we have to use a couple of things. We have to understand transparent color, opaque color, and the getting the right colors to get the depth. Because in our reference thing, there is a little bit of depth in it. You can see clouds, for example, are reflected in the lake, and trees that are in the background are reflected in the lake as well. So how do you convey that this is a reflection? Now, this was done in the day, so like I don't have loads of depth in it. Right? The foreground in this has actually in the video quite a lot of depth going on in it, and there are all kinds of beautiful colors in that. And in a way, I'd kind of like to work it up in a bigger painting, but I don't know if I have enough info to do that at the moment. That's something I've always wanted to do, painting of this, but maybe in the summer. I'll see how this painting goes and have a think about it. So we want to block things out first, and we run into the idea of the limited palette, because I want to mix up a color that's going to give me that background arc of trees, and the bit of sort of ochre colored grass in front of it. And I've been looking how to make earth colors with just primary colors instead of introducing earth colors on the palette at all. And that has been a fantastically interesting experiment. But let's start even simpler, right? And I'm going to show you a color out on the palette because we're going to start from the sky downwards on this. So, and I also have another little thing going here, piece of cardboard that just has some spare canvas on it. It's actually a fake kind of a canvas, but it'll do it. And what I'm doing is I have a phthalo blue, right, which is kind of a deep cyan blue. And if we look at this blue on its own, it's a beautiful blue. And put in a little bit of terps so I can see. This would be the same acrylics you'd be adding water to see the effect. You can see the white of that canvas coming through, right? And I want to keep my canvas white on this one, even though sometimes I do underpainting on canvas. I haven't on this one for this particular reason. For some of the watery parts of things, I want that transparency fully activated, if you like. And for other parts of it, I don't. I want to use opaque paint because I want the quality of the paint, that actual color paint and what the pigment does in that actual color to help me to make the painting. Okay, now I'm going to do something different with it for the sky though, because for the sky I'm going to come along and add in white and watch what happens to the color straight away. And this is something we don't really think about that much, but we should be thinking about it a lot. And you will be as you start painting more now. So this now has become opaque, okay? We've taken some of the intensity out of the color itself, knocked back the color a little bit and made it a little bit more tonal. And it doesn't have that see-through look anymore. We can't see through to the back of the canvas. Whereas with that, if we had done things like taken that phthalo blue, and it works the same for ultramarine if you were using an ultramarine. Trying to get it to drip and it doesn't want to because I don't think that's an unprimed canvas. But you can see the staining power is it allows you to show the canvas through, okay? It doesn't completely cover the canvas. Whereas this, with the white in it, you can't see the canvas at all. And you can bring it up as white as you like on top of that. So we're going to be working with that quality. So throughout the painting, we're going to be working with those two qualities together, okay? So that's the key to this technique of doing it. And if you go off and you study Monet, you'll see that he had the same techniques going in his paintings that involve water. So for the sky, which is a pretty blue sky, we're doing a blue and white mix, okay? And I'm going to fill that in first, even though there are trees in front of them. The trees are quite dark. Oops. I haven't got time. Sorry, have I slipped out of your field of vision? No, we're still good. Okay. And I'm not too worried about consistency of it being paper. Okay, so it's really just a band of trees across the top. Now, I want to point out, right, I'm not giving you a formula for how to do this particular painting or this particular lake or how to do water in general, okay? I want you to learn to do to do it your own way and develop your own little ABC of brush strokes, of color mixes, of ways of doing things. And I'm just giving you a few pointers that you might find useful. I might not, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna just indicate some trees in here, and now we're going to get Viridian out. Okay, now have a look at the Viridian. It's doing something similar, isn't it? Viridian green is doing something similar. Where's my piece of canvas? It's very transparency color, isn't it? So great staining power and a very see-through color. So, for example, the blue that's underneath when the Viridian is brushed on top of it, it affects the color of the blue underneath. Now that's going to be very useful. You probably can see how that's going to be useful with the water. Or should I say parts of the water, because it's not useful for all of the water, but we're going to use it at the moment for the trees. And because I'm not using earth colors on my palette, I'm just using a limited palette of yellow, red, blue at the moment. I've made up a kind of a browny color from an alizarin crimson and yellow. And then I can put some green in to get the right shade I want. And working with, I have found now over the last couple of weeks, because I've been at this kind of thing for a couple of weeks, doing things this way, I've found that I think the way this is going to work out is that the whole thing, the whole painting is more likely to be easier to make harmonious, because when you think about it, every color relates to the colors on your color wheel in terms of how you arrived at that color. You know what I mean? So already you've got like some sort of harmony going. Now there's not a lot of blue sky showing in this, so I can get rid of a lot of it. And we want to concentrate on the lake. And the other thing is, I'm not going to do this painting in a day, no matter how small the painting is. Oil paintings take ages, I find, for me, because I always want to mess with them. That other painting that I'm doing there of the spring scene. How long have I been working on that? Maybe 3 or 4 days. That'll be maybe a week or two, depending on depending on how it goes and what experiments I have in the middle of it. Okay, so I'm actually messing with that. How did I say about the brown again? Viridian red, and I'm using an alizarin crimson today rather than a cadmium. But there are reasons that you might have to employ a cadmium as well sometimes, because the mix that I got there with alizarin, I was trying to make the cadmium red. And when you look at the color wheel, you realize that if you want a cadmium red for from an alizarin, which is more over towards the blue, that you're going to have to add more yellow to it going this way to get it a warmer red. Um, so, I did get it more yellow, but I didn't get it as highly pigmented and zoomy a color as a cadmium red out of the tube would look. It was a lovely color. I got a lovely color out of it, but it was just kind of nice orangey red, but not bang on for cadmium. So this is why, it's limited palette does limit you. Sometimes putting limits on yourself is good though. And like I was saying, I suspect that it might be easier to create a harmony of colors in paint. Now, the other thing that I'm going to say about working with really transparent colors like Viridian Green. Now, look what happens when I put on a Viridian Green with nothing in it. It's very bouncy with nothing, not mixed in with anything. And if I did that all over with colors that are really see-through and everything, you end up with this picture, unless you confine yourself to only a couple of colors, that's a bit tasteless looking for your eyes. Your eyes kind of go, "Oh, that's too much." So you do need some kind of subtlety in tones as well. And you don't want to go too much and have the whole thing looking terribly grey. Like these are very grey kind of colours, you know. You don't want the whole painting like that either. Let's put in our band of ochre colour. And if you're curious about the ochre, I actually have it written down here. The secret formula for yellow ochre for a limited palette is cadmium yellow deep and dioxine purple. And I don't have either of those. I don't even have cadmium yellow out because I have a. I'll show you how I was trying to arrive at cadmium red. Sorry. I was trying to arrive at it by doing an alizarin with this is called a primary yellow, cadmium yellow, I put a primary. So I ended up with not, a nice orangey warm red, but I could not get it to look like this. Look, there's a cadmium red. I couldn't get it to look that zoomy, no matter what I did. So I'm never going to get that color exactly, So you've choices. You could go with cadmium red, or you could go with this color. And I'm actually choosing to stay with these limited palette versions of the colors to see if it creates more harmony. So I don't have dioxide purple either, which I wish I did have, to be honest with you. But purple isn't on our limited palette scheme either, you'd say. So if you wanted to make it purple, you would be getting your red and blue. And it's a alizarin red I had and a phthalo blue, which is kind of deep cyan blue. You'd be doing that to get a purple anyway, wouldn't you? So you can't see how purpley that is because it's so dark. But with it so dark, you can nearly tell. That'd make quite a good black as well. So let's grab a little bit of this Viridian and add it in there. And we've got a nice greeny black, or we could grab a little bit of alizarin back in, and we've got a blue black. So you see how you can get really dark colours with those. So we can do kind of dark shadows in the trees with those. Slightly soft with the brush to be working for this, but anyway. But I was in the middle of trying to get a ochre, wasn't I? So we were trying to generate a purple to add into our alizarin red and our yellow. We've got a nice brown at the moment, but we'll keep coming up with the red and the yellow. It really makes you think about your colour mixing, in new exciting ways, which is what I like about it. Love these browns. Look, these are all usable. So, like, I'm experimenting with this. Before we even go near the water, I'm getting to do wonderful things with my palette, and learning so much about colour. So that ain't ochre. Will I get an ochre so you can see what a yellow ochre looks like and then we try and match it? To put it out and not use it is the actually blue. For comparative purposes, there's the ochre. Oh, I'm going to have to clean that tube afterwards. Look at that. It's all getting all over my hands. My hands are ruined. We have this bit down here looking like water already, don't we? It's not controlled. So there's our ochre, look. And it's much lighter than that. So ochre is not a transparent colour, right? Which is relevant because we can add white in, can't we? And lo and behold, we're getting nearer to the ochre already. See? I had a lot of red still on the brush, so this is why I'm having to add in a lot of yellow. There we are, we're getting up to ochre. It's like it's not bang on, but it's nice. It is nice. Okay, so we're going to make our little brass edge. What's that? Let me just stand up this and hope I'm not in the way. Going to be some massive generalizations today about shapes and things because I just want to get the colour down. I want to get to the edge of the water to do it. Okay, so we have a dark brown line, and we kind of know how to make dark brown by now, don't we? Because we had the viridian, the red, and we had some yellow. I'm going to lean heavily into the yellow and red. So we're trying to get around. Okay, so there's the edge of water. Finally, got there, huh? And this is, I don't know, this, I don't like the size of this canvas we're doing. Okay, so we have the idea of a pale sky going on with some trees for a background, and we just bring up this ochre more. We need more yellow out on that. And I haven't seen that before actually, where we're calling it primary yellow right there on the tube. That was just the last one that I ordered. They keep calling them different things all the time. Now that's okay. If I want to come back later and do more with these bits, right? I can come in, mix in more warmer kinds of greens to pick up the colour a bit. You see, the way that little bit warmer, because that's quite an olivey green, but I can have sort of get smaller brushes out that are better shaped for it. However, I want to move on to the water. Okay, so we were talking about the transparency, right? Now, this is kind of interesting because within the video, which is linked to below in the description, um, you've got the reflection of the trees first. So you kind of say to yourself, well, how the heck am I going to get the wateriness in that, but get the detail of trees in as well? So think of it in terms of color. And when you look at the video, you realize you get two things going on. You got blue going on and brown going on, haven't you? And you've also got some green kind of reflections. So let's start with a blue-green. I'm looking my brush. you know, this is not going to be like good painting, but you get the idea of how to approach thinking about water by the time I get to getting the opaque paint out. So I need more. Where did I put my blue? Trying to get the white off the brush to do this. So we've got some blue and we want a little bit of viridian as well. Okay. So look at the intensity of that color. It's quite beautiful. The right, you know, you will look at the video, or you know, the community tab if you don't want to watch the whole video. There's kind of enough of a few bits of photos over there for you to get the idea of what the subject is. Now this is really watered down terps now, so you can really see the canvas underneath. So that's very fluid paint. So we're letting wateryness of the way I'm putting on the paint suggest the water, yeah? But it's totally the wrong colour still. So why didn't I just make it the right colour? Because when you look at the water, and most of this is about observing, right? Think about Monet. When Monet's in his garden, right, and through a garden especially for this, I don't know if he has problems with tulips blowing down all the time, but when he was in his garden, right, he might be only looking at the light on the water lilies in the pond or river he had, I think, for maybe an hour and a half. And then he'd go off and he'd do another subject because he needed to look and look and look to see exactly what the light was doing. He was being a bit of a scientist, really. Don't worry about this green bit. This is just left over from something else that we've done. We don't mind that it's there because we'll be doing something else. Okay, so now, you know, that's looking watery already, but it's, you know, it's got things we'd like to have happen to it that haven't happened yet. Some of the things would be colour to get the trees in. So let's have a look at the colour of the trees. And I am due to get new brushes because I don't seem to have the right brush for the job ever anymore, which is a bit annoying. So this one is nearly too scrubby, but that's not too bad. Okay, so I'm grabbing a bit more of viridian and I want to go dark for the trees. Okay, so we did have a color out there before which involved a lot of red in it, and we got a really nice dark color with that. So that would be a good color to start putting in for the trees. But we're going to leave a bit of the blue as well in some little spots, because if you know, we're not there at the spot, but just looking at the photos on my reference material there, I can see that there is some blue going on. In, you know, it's still water, but you know, it just had a little tiny little sort of wavelety sort of feel about it. Okay, now we're still working with transparent, very transparent paint. Okay, got a bit of very, very black in the middle. I don't mind though. And then the shapes of the trees come out like that, right? So far, so good. And still, it does look watery, and it's looking a bit more convincing. And we can even kind of get it going along with the back by, say, doing more stuff in the back. That's not the right sort of tree. And that those brush marks I'm making, but the colour is not bad. Oh, the birds are singing from there. I've got have wood pigeons out in the garden these days. I love it. That is the most peaceful sound in the world. Wood pigeons. Oh, just love it when they start. I feed them so they come down for that. Okay, so I'm liking that better. All right. Now I'm going to have start bringing in some areas that aren't as transparent, right? Because there are reflections down in the water of clouds as well. And not only are the clouds a paler color, but they're also they have a different quality to this, right? This has this shimmery back and forth depth thing that it's shimmering between different colors. But the bit in the foreground uh, doesn't really need that because there are some bits of the water that you don't see down the whole way down through the water, or you don't need to have the impression that you see all the way down in the water, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to clean off this brush. I hope this makes sense so far. You always get into comments and say, that didn't make any sense at all, Donna. What are you on about? But like maybe this next bit will make sense. I'm grabbing a big load of white with a little tiny bit of blue. And watch this, we're working back up into this, which is terribly daring. But I would particularly want to do this in oil paints because oil paints does this in such a fun way and leaves such lovely marks and everything that it's just a joy to do it in oils. That's why it's nice. I have the scratchy kind of brush to do it. So we don't have the shape of the trees, but we're going to come back in and re-establish the shape of the trees. Sorry, I'm getting excited and shouting. Because it is exciting. So now I'm generalizing down here, okay? Because it is going to change. Things are going to change down there a little bit as well. I'm leaving a little bit down here because in the foreground here, there's some real see-through blue again. It's kind of a slightly different blue. This isn't quite the right color yet, okay? But you know, it's not bad. We're sort of getting there. And what you want with this, you see, is you don't want to have the right color, you know, necessary right from the very start, and put it all over. Because in this painting, we don't really want an all over look because an all over look of color implies that everything's on the same plane or the same distance from it, which it isn't with the water. There's a fascinating thing about water when we look at it that because it shimmers and moves and because we can see through it in some spots and can't in others, it's sort of your eyes are shifting back and forth in it to different depths. And we're trying to capture that with this, you see, trying to kind of move backwards and forward to different depths. Am I making any sense yet? Probably not. No, there's nobody there in chat to argue about it, so that's good. Um, okay, so I'm reaching back into my alizarin crimson, and I'm going to get things going a bit more brown, but this time I'm going to get a little bit more opaque as well. Okay, so remember I made up some um, yellow ochre. That yellow ochre is going to get involved, and the yellow ochre was made. I'm going to actually borrow some more from over here. The yellow ochre was made with yellow and alizarin crimson and white. So I'm going to add some green into this as well, just a little bit, not a huge amount. And there is a little bit of white in that that was picked up from over here from the last time I made up the yellow ochre. So this green is no longer, if I show you on our little example, um, it's no longer see-through. See the way it's behaving on that. You can't see through to the back of the canvas. So that's an opaque color. It's not a transparent color the way these were. But that's great because we're wanting to work in there with a little bit of opaque kind of color. So that opacity is going to work in some places for us. It's actually going to do us a bit of a favor. So you see the way it's killing that glowiness of the blue slightly. And we don't want to kill the glowiness of the blue everywhere, but we want to decide where we want to push it back. Now, the only way to get that glowiness back, if I lose it a bit, is to wipe back to the canvas and reapply that transparent colour. So it's a bit nerve-wracking when you do it, but it certainly helps us get the depth of the back moving forward in this more glowing kind of. I like that blue there, you see. We want to work with that and keep that. And then for this here, I'm going to get, because the black went a little bit awry, I want to get a little bit more greens in near the black. I'm leaving a few of the little lines in it. But hopefully, I don't know, can you see it? Hopefully you're going to be able to see some of the difference in the kinds of effects we managed to get. If I want to extend that see-through blue up to the front, you see the way when I'm putting it on, just the blue that's very see-through, it's not behaving in that see-through way. So this is why you can't work it too much really with when you're getting water, you know. It doesn't like being pushed around a lot in the way that maybe trees and things wouldn't mind it too much. The trees in the background, you could keep working away on them. But with this, when doing water, a little bit of a light touch can be a good thing, really. Now, you may say, what about the lily pad? Well, patience. We get to that. But first, so you can see kind of the technique of that. And then, you'd be working on the background, other stuff as well. I've only got 15 minutes left to do this. But I want to do more in the foreground before we do anything lily pad related, okay? Because there's a reflection from the sky, isn't there? So we want to get the lovely, there are beautiful colours in this actually. This is part of the reason I really want to paint it, and part of the reason that I'm tempted to do it bigger. But at the same time, I'm kind of saying maybe I'll wait till summer and go back out there again and get more stuff to work from. Because although some of the photos I got are very good to work from, I want to be in the spot again, to get the vibes, man, because that's really helpful when you're painting. Now, what I want in the foreground is I want to do the reflection of the clouds, but I am working with opaque paint this time. So I've knocked back that intensity of the blue with white. But, it's such an intense pigmented color that that's okay. Just mind that. Now, I can get in there with the blue and I can do things to alter that blue then to show clouds reflected and then depth of the water reflected as well, because there's some wonderful purpley pinky colours going on, and part of the interest of that scene for me is again very small scale to be trying to capture it on, but there are lovely pink clouds and everything reflected as well, and it's just lovely fun thing to do. And I'm just going to generalize about this first and put in a sort of a mid blue sky here. That's, it's actually a darker blue than there is showing in the sky in the background in the video, but it's reflected in the water, you see. So, the water is changing the color of it. But I'm going to go darker. So they're kind of like a bands of darkness across this as well. And again, that's kind of, it's up to you what kind of a touch you want to add to that. And sometimes you can get an effect quite quickly, and then you go, yeah, it looks like water, but is that enough? Is it conveying, say, what you want it to convey as well? It's not you just want it to look like water. You want it to look like that water on that day and give that feeling. It is a lot of to ask of a painting, but that's what's fun about painting. So you do all kinds of things to try and arrive at that. And it can involve moving your brush in a different way. Like on the other painting, I was doing, I was rolling my brush along and all this. And you will find that kind of dragging effects and everything. And strictly kind of effects can add something to it. So I haven't spoken with the pink though, have I? So let's get some pink going in here. And I want to talk to you for a minute with this limited palette in case anybody else is trying the limited palette. And with the sort of blue I'm using, the phthalo blue that I'm using, and the alizarin crimson that I'm using, because I just don't have a magenta. The mix that I get out of that is a very cool kind of a violet, as opposed to if you had a magenta or a dioxine, that dioxine purple, you'd get a very hot kind of a purple, right? But for the water, is that the right kind of purple that you want, you see? Or do you want something that's a little bit cooler? So I want to go between the two. So um, I got a bit of that purple out, which was the cobalt violet, which is cooler. I think it's a bit cooler than the dioxine. It's not as poppy uh, a purple, but that's okay because I want it a little bit cooled down. But I'm adding a little bit of the really hot purple into my own cooler purple mix. I'm bringing it up to a lighter color as well. So the blue is going into it as well, and this mix is going in. So we're just going that little bit more purpley, but it's not a screaming purple. It's up to you to decide. You see color differently to me. And we try the dragon the brush technique. So you see the way this is adding, I hope you see this color. This is adding a different feeling to it by adding this different color, and then you'll be working with, different size brushes and things. I'm at the stage at the moment where I'm going to order brushes on Monday because I'm running low. I'm at the stage, I always know I need new ones. When I can't find a brush to do a particular job, I go, no, that one's Banjax, that one's Banjax. I'm at that stage now. So some bits of it are going to have that more purpley look. And it just adds that little bit of, I was going to go up there with it, but actually I'm not. Up here, I'm going to make the blue a bit more yellow. So you see the way you're slightly changing how you do business in different areas. Because not only have you got a downward depth, which in the foreground, in this white opaque bit, we haven't really dealt with at all. But you've also got a receding thing. And some of the receding thing, I'm going to actually introduce a green in for this. So we pick up a little bit of yellow for this to get a nice green into that mix. Some of the recession in this is you will get it from sizes of things. So, for example, when you're putting in those lily pads, the ones that are nearer are going to be that little bit bigger. You know, you might have some smaller dots in the back. They're going to be bigger in the front. And then in the foreground, they're also going to be, you're going to be able to see more of them. Okay. So whereas they were kind of flattened out back here, down here, they're not. There's another thing about this as well that this is part of the reason I think this is a nice subject. I'm sorry, I'm looking for the perfect word. Always on my quest for the perfect word. Another thing that's nice about this is you see that green there? It's against blues and purples, right? So if you have a look at green here on the color wheel, and this is why I have the color wheel out because I'm thinking about color a lot. The green, if you look at what it's opposite, well, it's opposite that red, right? Very warm red. But if you look at the paler version of the green that's nearer yellow, it's opposite purple. So green and purple. So this is why that green is popping a little bit against the purple, even though tonally they're exactly the same tonally. Sorry, I'm just adding a little accent to it. Even though they're exactly the same tonally, it's on the opposite side of the color wheel, so it stands out against it. So, you know, you have color concerns there that have to do with tone, where the thing is on the color wheel, and whether the color is transparent color or opaque color. So you would keep working back and forth. Let's look for another color in here. And we've got some scrubby, you see, it depends on what bit of the video that you're looking at yourself to get your thing from. You've got a scrubby on the bit I'm looking at. You've got scrubby dark bits down here. And you've got more browns and everything in here that we could establish that can give it even more life. So I'm going to do so you're going to make up a sienna from the limited palette. The sienna, cadmium red deep, cadmium yellow deep, and viridian. So yellow, red, and green, basically. So I don't have a cadmium red deep out. I have alizarin crimson. So I'm going to use that. But it certainly did pick up my color mixing, having to do this with the limited palette, and made me really think about color in a way that was very interesting. So there we are. That's with the okay. So definitely got a more brown. I have to be a bit careful because I don't want to lose all the see-throughness. But yet I want to get the and keep standing back. I'm not standing back at all. Okay, so I get a little bit more brown going in because there's definitely some brown running through this as well. You know? It's the variation in colours that makes it so interesting. It makes it more interesting for your eye, then. And I'm not bothering putting in the lily pads until I have all that done. But I will do things like while I have the colour on my brush come in and do things back. Going there that are of interest. In a way, my heart isn't really in this one because I'm still thinking about the other painting I'm working on that, and I want to keep all my attention on that. I'm gonna have this darker thing. You go a bit two-tone on these guys, because I can lay in a colour and then have the lighter version of colour top it, and that means I still have. So when you put in, I'm not really looking enough at my pictures here. Sorry, I'm clicking away because my computer is down here to look at pictures. So long since I used the mouse. Okay, so actually I put in a darker colour there. None of them are darker. They're all the same colour or lighter than this. So that's me not reading it properly. And some of the underneathy ones, this is what's very nice about it. What I like about it is that some of the underneathy ones have a pinky thing going for them. So I will make use of that. Where did I put my? Sorry, I think I have my head right. Sorry about that. I want you to be so some of those underneathy lily pads are a pinky color, and you will have to put in a little bit of work in getting that depth showing up because there's a brown in there as well, you see. So you're kind of getting rid of some of the blue by going into brown ranges. So, not challenging or anything, but it's fun because it's a fun subject because you get to play with color a lot, and there isn't. It's not that easy to go terribly wrong, you know. You can't go that wrong with it because, like, already I have done very little work on it, and it's sort of going in a sort of a nice direction, you know. I think it's in a nice direction. That's what I think. Um, because once you understand the principle of what you're doing, you're not really going to make it. So the principle is, and it's the same. You see, it's actually going to be the same with this when I get the water on this one. That these bits here, although I have them indicated in very tonal colors here, there's going to be some transparency bits in them, and then some is going to be just dragged, uh, almost pure white bits with a little bit of blue in them for the highlighty bits. So there isn't going to be that much messing going on with the water. And say you got a big kind of a sheen across something, that's really done by, depending on whether you're got wash or oil, but by watering down with the medium, so you get that slick look going across. So, for example, if I can do it here, see that kind of idea. you know you're just making quite a swishy, it's got a swishy feeling. So this is all like, that's all achieved by brush strokes and things, so you can do that kind of playing around as well. Don't worry if the thing doesn't work, you're going to have maybe half your paintings don't work, so what? if if you had even half of your painting to work well, that'd be fantastic. But I hope you have enough there to be able to have some ideas about doing water. You see, some water would have loads of browns in it, and this water does have some lovely browns in it as well. That we could have a fun time working with. Uh, and you could do those in a starting off with a very transparent see-through, go for a really transparent dark color like the transparent green again, and then build a brown on top of them with transparent red and things like that. That'll work, but it doesn't have to be. But for this bit here where you needed to have some bits that were shimmery and intense looking in color, in order to keep that intense feeling, you had to not throw too much white at the paint to do it. So it was fine throwing loads of white at the paint down here, um, because that bit wasn't see-through. That was getting a lot of light from above, and you couldn't see underneath the water. But when you get back down to where you can start seeing under the water, okay, these are all very pale colors down here, or a lot of them are very pale. There's a brown over here somewhere in my shot that isn't that pale. Um, Remember that when you put white in something, you're killing the color a little bit, and you're creating opacity in the thing. So when you're looking at the thing, you say to yourself, "Is that an opaque or transparent color? Do I want to go with a very pure, see-through pigment and preserve that quality of it, or am I going to go um, with a more tonal thing like these kind of colors here, you know. There's a lot of it in the foreground gets tonal. It's actually they're quite tricky areas to do those bits because it goes between being very earthy tonal colors and being more kind of singing colors. You know what I mean? But we got some stuff done, and when you stand back, you kind of go, okay, I can see some of the effect working, some of it working better than other bits, but you can see how your brush strokes come into it as well. What kind of brush strokes you're using. Not using the same thing all over. It's, whatever the needs are of that particular. So you have a few different types of challenges in that, including things about uh, distance versus close up, see through versus opaque. Just being outdoors, being landscapey, that's quite tricky as well. Um, but in another way, a lot of it is very free type painting. So if you might not find my image great for you to work from because it doesn't mean anything to you, but find some water yourself somewhere, and first of all, see the beauty in it because you won't paint it well if you don't see the beauty. But get excited about it, and then you will want to paint it, and then painting will turn out nice. And I mean, look at sort of what happens when you have very bright areas beside very dark. It's beautiful, isn't it? You just want to keep working on it. Anyway, hope you got something nice out of that. And we've got a lovely painting summer coming up. And the little folks are best painting summer ever. So we've got to get out and about. Okay, I don't know what we're doing next week on the live, but you never know. During the week there might be another out or something. We'll see how it goes, and I hope you enjoy this. Got something out of it. Bye.